Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here, because we are going to completely reframe how you think about one of the most famous events in world history. I mean, when you picture the American Revolution, what actually comes to mind? Probably a few famous guys in powdered wigs standing around signing a piece of paper, right? Well, scratch that. Today, we're going to shatter that illusion. The truth is, the American Revolution wasn't just won by a handful of guys in a room in Philly. It was won by this massive, incredibly diverse, and super resilient team. It was literally the ultimate team-up, and every single person had a crucial role to play.
Okay, so let's dive right into our team roster for today. First, we'll look at the global team effort. Then, women at work and war. Third, African-American service. Fourth, allies in action. And finally, we'll wrap up with true education and morality.
All right, Section 1. A global team effort and the real story of independence.
So there's this massive myth out there that just a few famous men won the war all by themselves. But the reality? Victory totally belonged to many, many hands. Just think about the sheer logistics of war for a second. Every single uniform worn by a soldier needed food to fill it and cloth to patch it, right? Every march needed safe roads and scouts. The Patriot cause relied on a massive community. We're talking about spies risking their lives in the shadows, writers keeping morale up, sailors protecting the coast, and diplomats securing funds. When you widen the lens, the revolution transforms from this story of isolated heroes into a story of incredibly resilient communities.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates our core theme for today. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4 tells us there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. Different people contributed to the cause in totally different ways, using their own unique gifts. Some had the gift of strategy, some had the gift of farming, some wrote, and some had immense physical courage. And you know what? Every single one of those gifts was absolutely essential to winning independence.
Moving right along to Section 2, Women at Work and War, the backbone of the revolution.
I want you to put on your historian hat for a moment and ask yourself this. How exactly did women's labor support the army? Like, what actually happens when a huge chunk of the male population suddenly leaves to go march in the Continental Army?
Well, the short answer is, without women, the colonies would have completely collapsed economically, and the army would have literally starved. While the men were off fighting, women stepped up big time to keep the farms and shops running. They managed the planting, the harvesting, the business ledgers, the whole shebang. They worked tirelessly to produce clothing, blankets, and essential supplies for freezing soldiers. Out in the military camps, they carried water right to the front lines during raging battles, which is how some earned the famous nickname Molly Pitcher, and they tended to the wounded. Plus, many brave women used their position in society to secretly gather vital intelligence and act as spies against the British. Talk about a game changer.
But hey, they weren't just providing physical labor. They were bringing intense intellectual firepower to the table too. Writers literally shaped the war. People like Mercy Otis Warren wrote incredibly persuasive plays and pamphlets that shaped public opinion and rallied folks to the Patriot cause. And of course, there's Abigail Adams, who famously wrote to her husband John Adams, telling him to remember the ladies when drafting the new laws of the land. These women were intellectuals, persuaders, and the undeniable economic engines of the American Revolution.
All right, Section 3, African-American service and the fight for freedom.
Let's ask a critical question to get right to the heart of the matter here. What really motivated African Americans to fight, and how exactly did they contribute to this massive effort? Well, the core motivation was the pursuit of liberty and opportunity. You really have to remember the incredible personal stakes involved here. Many African Americans, both free and enslaved, heard the rhetoric of the revolution. You know, all those fiery words about unalienable rights and freedom, and they actively sought that freedom for themselves. Depending on the promises of emancipation offered by either the British or the Patriots, many African Americans fought with immense courage, specifically seeking their own freedom and a better, more just future. And their contributions were massive. African Americans served in local militias right from the very first opening shots at Lexington and Concord. They fought valiantly in both the Continental Army and the Navy. They demonstrated extreme courage in major battles across all 13 colonies. A really shining example of this is the 1st Rhode Island Regiment. This unit featured a large number of African-American soldiers who fought with distinction and just incredible bravery. Their skill and their sacrifice were absolutely vital components of the American victor.
Next up, Section 4, Allies in Action, Help from Across the Globe.
Okay, just imagine trying to fight the greatest, most well-funded empire in the world, the British Empire, without a proper navy, without enough money, and with an army made up mostly of untrained farmers. I mean, it's nearly impossible, right? So how exactly did foreign allies step in and change the direction of a war?
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer variety of help the Americans received. It was staggering. From France, we had brilliant officers like the Marquis de Lafayette, experienced troop commanders like the Comte de Rochambeau, and Admiral de Grasse, whose navy was absolutely crucial to trapping the British at the final major battle of Yorktown. Then you've got Baron von Steuben, this brilliant military mind from Prussia, who came in and expertly trained the ragtag Continental Army, basically turning them into a professional fighting force. And let's not forget Spain. Bernardo de Galvez led Spanish forces down in the Gulf region, relentlessly attacking British forts and cutting off vital enemy supplies. These allies were total game changers. Without them opening ports, financing supplies, and pressing Britain around the globe, independence might literally never have happened.
And that brings us to Section 5, True Education and Morality, the HeroesMart Philosophy.
So tying all this together brings us to a really crucial point, a deeply held philosophy. Education without morality will hurt. But what does that actually mean? Well, it's the principle that gaining knowledge must be paired with biblical morality to prevent making destructive choices. Think about the founding fathers, the women running the war economy, the brave African-American soldiers, and our foreign allies. They didn't just need tactical knowledge, right? They had to make the right moral choices with that knowledge to actually win liberty and build a new nation. Knowledge is a fantastic tool, but morality is the compass that tells you exactly where to point it.
So I want to challenge you with this. What is the point of being incredibly smart and highly educated if you just continue to make bad choices that hurt yourself and the people around you? Raw intelligence without a moral compass is just a recipe for disaster. You can literally have all the historical facts in the world memorized, but if you don't apply moral wisdom to your daily life, that education isn't truly serving you.
The HeroesMart Academy intertwines biblical morality with education for this exact reason. As Romans chapter 8, verses 6 through 7 promises, there is peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. When you engage with spiritual, moral education, you find true peace and purpose. Just as teamwork and utilizing unique gifts were the path to American independence, pairing your education with a strong, spiritual, moral foundation is the absolute best path to your own peace of mind. That's for sure been our experience, and it is exactly what we wish for everyone engaging with our content.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a homework reflection, a provocative thought to carry with you this week. Take a look around you. Who is the unsung hero of your community's team? And maybe even more importantly, looking at your own life, how are you using your unique gifts for the greater good? Remember, it takes a massive, diverse team to change the world. Find your gift, ground it in morality, and get to work. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep learning.